Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I want to talk to you guys about the Zenkai Cup. Now, this is not really a new piece of information. The Zenkai Cup was announced like a week or two ago, I think, but we got some new information recently that I think is worth bringing to your attention. And not only am I just going to explain to you guys how the Zenkai Cup is going to work, because if you really wanted to learn it all yourself, you'd have to go between this website, the Dragon Ball Super main website, and Facebook, because unfortunately, it's not all listed in one convenient place. So I'm basically doing that for you in this video. But I'm also going to get a little constructive, a little critical of how Bandai is handling organized play in this video. And I feel like I just want to get that out there because at the end of the day, I want the best game for me and for you. And I love this game. I love Dragon Ball Super. I think it's the pinnacle of what a card game should be mechanics-wise. But at the same time, I think if you're a consumer of a product, you have every right to be critical, not unreasonably rash. Don't get me wrong. I think that everything I'm going to say in this video has a solid line of logic behind it. If you agree or disagree with that, feel free to let me know in the comments. But anyways, let's just jump right into it. So let's read what they have to say here. Welcome to the Zenkai Cup. So right off the rip, you should be thinking about the Unison Warrior Cup, which were not very popular events. I think they tried to do that like a format or two ago with the with the Unison Warrior Cup, and people just were not really feeling them, man. Like nobody really wanted to play in them. The attendance, the signups were super low. I'm not sure if any of them actually ended up coming to fruition. I know at least one of the Unison Warrior Cups ended up being changed to just a regular formatted event. And what Unison Warrior Cup, for anyone who doesn't know, that was an event where you were only going to be able to play with Unison Warrior block cards in your deck. It was almost like a form of like rotation, but just for one event. And you know, you were cutting out a lot of staples like Senzu Bean, like Throwing Instruction Champa, the Sparking Negates, all kinds of different cards were not going to be playable in that format. So it would drastically shift the meta quite a bit to where probably only certain archetypes would be really good and some would be really bad. But I mean, there's always a meta, right? There's always gonna be good and bad decks. That's not really the problem. I really think the main problem comes with this next sentence, and we'll get a little bit more critical of this later. So join these events with Zenkai series cards for amazing new prizes. That's a really bold claim, but we'll get into that after the regulations here. So regulations: decks must be made up of the following. 1, cards from the following products: Dawn of the Z Legends, Red Rage, Blue Future, Green Fusion, Yellow Transformation, all the starter decks. 2, Zenkai series logo cards from the following products: the 5th anniversary set, which is the new anniversary box coming out in November, I believe, including premium edition. And then this third line, which I believe is a new line of text. If this was here from the beginning, correct me in the comments. I could be wrong, but I think this is a new line of text that's got everyone kind of talking about this event again. A minimum of 15 Zenkai series cards total between your main deck and Z deck. So this third line seemingly contradicts the first point, where the first point reads like you can only play Z series cards, which is or would be similar to the Unison Warrior block where you can only play Unison Warrior cards. But this third line kind of reads like you can now play basically whatever deck you want as long as you have 15 Z cards between your main deck and your Z deck. Now that was a big problem because they listed this list of leaders here that you could play in the Z series cup, but yes, these decks are getting like some support in Anniversary Box that's going to be tagged with Z Series, but how do you play Set 2 Vegeta without like all the different Gokus and Vegetas throughout the game's history? How do you play without the really old school, you know, green Vegetos or the older Vegetos? How do you play Cooler without Beer Super Combo, without Cooler Tyrannical Assault? You just couldn't, right? And that was a big point of contention when these events were first talked about. Again, I think like a week or two ago. So I'm pretty sure they added this third line here just recently. And that might have been like a recent reaction to the community's response to the Z Cup, which again was unfortunately not very favorable. Or this might have just been something they meant to do from the beginning and only recently clarified. And there's a Facebook post from a few judges that we're going to go over in a bit that clarifies a bit more on these things. But yeah, it seems like for now you can play any deck you want basically, as long as you have a minimum of 15 Zenkai series cards, and 7 of those can be in your Z deck, so you need to somehow jam 8 Z cards into your main deck. Now, I do think that's going to be kind of tough to do, to be honest, because like Set 2 Vegito, I'm pretty sure is only getting Z deck support. I don't think it's getting actual main deck cards. I could be wrong on that. Maybe we haven't seen all the reveals yet, but I know Vegito's getting a Z battle card and a Z leader. Are they even getting a main deck card? I don't think so. So maybe you got to kind of just play some random Z series Vegeta 1-drop or Goku 1-drop to make that work. And you could say the same about all these leaders listed here. But yeah, so I guess like the real restriction of this event is that you can only play Zenkai leaders or leaders that are on this list. So I guess you're not necessarily open to all leaders in the game, but there's a big slew of leaders here you can look forward to. Now, the next thing I want to go to is the prize list, because they make a big claim up here, like we mentioned before. Join the Zenkai series for amazing new prizes. Let's read what the prizes are. So for just participating, you get the participation card, you get Champ Pack Volume 3 and only one pack, which is kind of weird to be honest. And then you get Zenkai Series Pack Volume 1, you get 2 of them. So that's actually a cool reprint thing here where you're actually getting some new cards, which I did for the Dragon Ball Celebrations recently. So you get some new cards ahead of time, which is kind of cool, I guess. And then you're getting some Alt Art Z stuff from the first set of Zenkai series, as well as the anniversary box, getting some Alt Art stuff there. That's kind of cool. The problem with these promo packs is that when they first come out, they're always worth a lot of money, or at least the cards within them are worth a lot of money. And as time goes on and more packs come into circulation, they just become cheaper and cheaper to where nobody wants them anymore. So maybe they gotta get in a better cycle of like changing out the promo packs, which I think at this point is like every 3 to 4 months or something like that. But that's one thing. So then we go to top 64. You get a top 64 card. So assuming this is going to be some sort of like alt art, but I don't think they've done any of the alt art promos. Like, and just for examples, you've got like Forbidden Power, King Vegeta's Imposing Presence, all the recent ones they've done in the regional season, where they can go for a decent amount of money if they have characters on the cards that people care about, or if there's good cards in the meta. Some of them do fetch nice prices, some of them not so much when they're not such great characters or card choices. But yeah, top 64 I think is the most largely reaching one, meaning like typically they've only been for like top 32 or greater. I don't think that a lot of the promo cards have, or the prize cards have been for top 64 or greater. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But anyways, it goes on for top 32, you get a card. Top 8, there's a new exclusive card. Oddly enough, there's no exclusive card for top 4. I guess you're just getting the same top 8 card as well as another Zenkai series pack, which like whoop-de-doo, you get another alt art pack. Like, that's just kind of weird to be honest when that's the same prizing as participation. And as far as I remember, like the alt art Sin Shenron Destruction Incarnate, that was a top 4 card. So why is top 4 not getting a card here? Go on to top 2, you get your own card, and then go on to champion, you get one exclusive card. So admittedly, the top 2 and the champion card will probably fetch a pretty nice price, but like, is this really amazing prizing? And before I get more into this, I'm just gonna say my piece. I'm gonna get pretty critical of Bandai here, and I think, in my personal opinion at least, I'm pretty fair to Bandai, meaning like when I think Bandai could be doing something better, I think I'm pretty vocal about that. But I think I'm also pretty generous to them when I think they're doing something great. And like I mentioned earlier in the video, I love this card game. I want the best card game for me, my friends, and for you guys out there, because I want this card game to thrive. I think it's the best card game on the market mechanically. And I think we also have a pretty good sense of balance for the most part. This format, you can maybe argue some things, but I think for the greater term of the game's lifespan, we have some really good balance and some really good formats. Now, organized play has been sort of a different story. This does not really scream to me amazing prizing. Participation is one of the biggest draws to get players to show up, because not everyone's playing for top 32, top 8, top 4. And I'm also surprised, by the way, there's no like top 16 split either. Like top 16, you're not getting anything new until you crack top 8. But yeah, participation is the best way to get people to show up to your event that aren't playing for this top 32 and above slot, right? Like, you've got people that are showing up for the love of the game, that are maybe a bit more casual, maybe the event's just nearby to them and they want to go because it's convenient. This is not really dragging those players to the events. One other big criticism of these events, that there's no nationals invite being handed out. Now, I don't really want to open this whole can of worms, but it really relates to store championships, which, if you didn't see, I made a really big Facebook post like last week, because the case is, if you're a player with a nationals invite, you are basically getting punished by showing up to your local store championship, because you don't want to rob anyone of their invites. So you got to give all your wins away to players who need invites just to be a good person. But now you're losing your chance to play for a winner card. You're just showing up to locals to lose for no reason. You're paying however much entry is just to lose. That doesn't really feel good. It's a very feels bad experience. And unfortunately, this is the same thing. Like, a lot of people in the community would say, why would we focus on alternate formats when we just are kind of a smaller game? We want to really just drive attendance to the main format events. That is a fair criticism, but like, you can very easily generate attendance for these alternate format events if the prizing was something that was like coveted by the community. If you showed what the top 4 card was and it was some sick Goku card that everyone wanted, you'd immediately have like way more signups. If you made participation a little bit better, who knows, maybe a playmat, maybe just more promo cards, maybe some distinct card just for attending this event, which maybe the participation card will be, you'd get more people wanting to play in this event. But it just seems like they're doing everything differently to where they don't want a lot of traction to these events. They could be doing so much more, because at the end of the day, for a card game company, printing cards is the cheapest way of creating prizing, and you can still make it exclusive. You can still create like secondary market buzz, which a lot of players would really like. And again, no nationals invite for this thing is just making it a little bit rough for people wanting to attend this with nationals coming up. So anyways, moving along here, just some of the alternate art cards that I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to have, but this alone, in my opinion, is not going to make people go out of their way to go to these events. Like, if you want people to start playing an alternate format, you got to offer something that people want to play for, whether it's participation or the higher end prizing. But anyways, let's go over to Charles Hoffman's post here. You know, shout out to him for creating this post just to answer a lot of the things that people want to know about the Z Cup. So first comment I want to point out to is George's comment. Shout out to Aspira, man. Hope you make videos again soon, because I actually like your content a lot. But anyways, his thing says this whole format is a mess. So Eric, another judge in the community, comments underneath saying people complained last year that it was too constructive, referring to Unison Warrior Cup. And he's totally correct. That was a big criticism of Unison Warrior Cup. But how could the main website for the Zenkai Cup just not be clear on what we're going to be playing for and playing with, right? Like, this is still super unclear to me. Like, it takes 10 people in this thread to ask the same question of, okay, how do I meet these Z requirements? Is it just my Z deck? Is it just my main deck? Is it a combination of both? And many of the questions here go on to ask that, and then you get the answer of, yes, your Z deck counts towards your Z series total, which is a good thing. Now, Jared Lopez asked a very good question here. If I have 15 Zenkai cards in my deck, can I side them out for non-Zenkai cards, or do I have to have 15 Zenkai cards in my main deck at all times? So basically, like, if I have non-Z cards in my side deck and I take Z cards out of my main deck, am I making my deck illegal per se by not having 15 Z cards in my deck at the time of playing the game? Now, Charles responds underneath saying that it's a best-of-1 format, but that's not what the tournament organizer has in their event listing. 35-minute rounds, 5-minute overtime, pre-side BO1. Now, Charles goes on to say that they're going to talk with their crew, but that it should be a BO1 no-side event. Now, this is also a pretty big problem, because I think a lot of people have really gotten used to the format of BO1 pre-side. A lot of locals have begun playing this format, and BO1 just leads to more feels bad games, because if you run into a bad matchup, well, guess you can't sideboard your answer. That'll help you out. Like, you're already not playing 3 games. You already have only 1 shot to win that game, and you can't even sideboard now. That's going to generate a really big feels bad. So between the prizing thing, between the invite to nationals thing, between the BO1 no pre-side thing, I feel like they could just do so much more to make people want to come to these events. Now, again, me being very critical, maybe Bandai doesn't like that. If you guys haven't noticed, I haven't done like any reveals in more recent months. I haven't done anything like that because I haven't heard from Bandai. So if that's how the approach they want to take, that's perfectly fine. I think it's still within my right to kind of give my opinion when all my stuff is backed up by at least what I think is logical. I don't think I've done anything rash in this video or anything crazy. So if you want to support me, subscribing can do that. Patreon can do that. Because I don't know if Bandai really appreciates me being critical, but regardless, I'm still going to just give my opinion and hope to see this game become the best that it can be, when they could be doing a lot of things a bit differently for the better. But anyways, guys, that's what I got for you in today's video. Let me know in the comments below what you think about all this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.